Happy Friday and welcome into WagerTalk TV. This is a brand new edition of PuckTime. Not an episode, Brian Leonard. It's a new edition of PuckTime here. Of course, I'm Andrew McGinnis, and I have Brian Leonard and Andy Lang with me here today. Looking forward to this show. Looking forward to hearing what these gentlemen have to say as far as these three games. We have the Oilers, Capitals, Jets, Panthers, and the Flames taking on the Dallas Stars. We'll also talk about, we'll also show you guys Carmine's 6 in 60 video, and we'll have Carmine in the chat. He's live chat with us right now. He's on his way to Jamaica, so wishing Carm a safe flight and a great time over there with his friends and family. We're going to start things off, Brian, with the Edmonton Oilers and Washington Capitals. I was saying to you before the show began how I've been so frustrated that I haven't faded this Oilers team enough. But is this a day to get behind them, Brian, or you still going to look against them?
Yeah, I like this one. This is one of the few on today's card. I've got something to talk about. I think it'll give us a winner. But, yeah, the Oilers are still struggling to get the puck in the net. Over the last 10 games in 5-on-5 play, they have an expected goals percentage of 54.97, which is pretty impressive, but just a 38.10 goal for percentage. It's becoming clear to me that this squad simply doesn't have enough talented shooters after the first line. They've been outscored in 5-on-5 play during this 10-game stretch, 26-16. That's tied for fourth worst offensively in the league, and they continue to outshoot the opposition by wide margins. Yet are 3-7-0 as of late in these last 10 games. The 26 goals they permitted is seventh worst. So we all know about their goalie struggles and their defensive struggles, but now it's getting to the point where the offense is getting down there, and we see it day in and day out. If you're going to bet Edmonton, try to find them on shots over, because they continue to shoot all the time and have success shooting, but they can't get it in the net. Which tells me that they're just not that very much skilled, other than the first the big guys in the lineup. Washington, who would know? If you didn't tell them, if you're not a real hockey fan and follow it every day, they're 8-1-1 their last 10 games. That ties the New York Rangers for the best record in the league during this time frame. To me, people are overlooking Washington here. It's not beautiful. They don't play a great game. They're not an impressive team, but they find ways to win. To me, there's no way Edmonton, despite the speed advantage in this game, should be favored here. Everybody's looking for Edmonton's speed. Well, Edmonton's speed's been there all year. And as I said, they continue to have problems putting the puck in the net. I think Washington here is a clear bet for me. Many times I've passed up on Edmonton, but tonight, no, I'm on Washington here, and I think that's where all the value is. Anything on this one, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, just completely echoing everything that you said. It's been a really, really strange. I don't know if you guys saw it. Did you see that moment that McDavid and Draisaitl had on the bench where Draisaitl just kind of looked at McDavid and kind of gave him a fist bump, and it just summed up Edmonton's season in a nutshell. Those two guys were like, "Oh man, we're in trouble."
I saw that. I did see that.
Well, I mean, wasn't that just like a small capture in time just said so much? I mean, it was. I don't know. It was a very interesting moment. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It was kind of fun. So yeah, I'm with Brian on this one. That the Capitals are certainly the play. I would add in a same game parlay. We joke about doing it, not to, don't play the same game parlay. You can take a same game parlay of the Capitals to win and the game to go over 5.5 goals. And you can get that thing up to plus 215 on DraftKings. I mean, you look at this Oilers team. Obviously, they cannot keep anyone out of the net. The Oilers are 2-8 on the road. They allow 4.2 goals per game on the road. And you look at the Capitals team, and they've just been slowly but surely getting it done. So when you look at the goals, I'm really surprised about this value here. So you want to add some because I like over 6.5. I mean, this Capitals team 7-7. They're putting up 4-4, 3-4-4 on these winning streaks, and if they're doing it against teams like Vegas and the Islanders and even New Jersey, they're certainly going to do it against Edmonton, who's part of that terrible trio that I've talked about. These teams that just them in Minnesota and San Jose just allow so many goals. So I would look at that parlay of the Capitals at over 5.5 goals. I just don't think the Capitals are going to win a game that's like 2-1 against Edmonton. This game has 6-3 or 5-2 or something written all over it. So that's how I would look at this game.
Andy, I like that a lot. You talk about, getting the better odds and trying to do some of these alt lines. And it's not like you're going down that far. You're going down just one whole goal, pretty much is what you're doing there. And how many Oilers games are going to end with less than 5 goals? It could be the best game they play all season, and it's going to end with quite a few goals. So when I look at this game, I just find it so interesting that the Oilers have always been top heavy. They've always had just one or two guys that did all the scoring for them. But you just can't struggle this much in games when your best players give you 3 goals a game. Like McDavid can't score 2 goals and then have the media go at him and say, well, McDavid's still the best player. He has to carry his team. I'm sorry, but if your goaltender cashes the team total over for the opponent in the first period every night, how can McDavid carry his team to a victory? He just simply cannot. And it's very difficult. Like Andy talks about that moment they had on the bench together. I feel like it was that moment where they were almost like it was like it's me and you, man. It's me and you against the world because there's no one else helping them out, right? But this Capitals team has been really sneaky, and not just sneaky, like doing well and protecting their leads and playing well defensively. Their offense has really been sparked. I mean, if you looked at this team and didn't show me like the actual logo or which team it was, just showed me the stats of the Washington Capitals for their first 3 or 4 games of the season, and then the rest of their games after that, you would think it was a completely different that the little cat sound effect there we got in the background. You'd think it's a whole different team. And so I think the scoring has a lot to do with it. And this is a bet that I've cashed on quite a bit. I'm going to look towards the first period, both teams to score plus 135. Total 6.5. Once again, the first period over is like minus 185. So I don't want to jump in on that. The last 3 games, we have seen not just 2 goals, but we've seen like 4 or 5 goals combined in Edmonton Oiler games. So guys, you want to try and find nice ways to get plus money when you're betting these totals or betting on games that involve the Edmonton Oilers. I think that a lot of the goals in their games have started in the first period. They're notoriously bad starters. Like, in my opinion, if you like Washington, you want to look towards the first period because Edmonton seems to get better as the game goes on, but they just have such bad starts. So I'm going to give out plus 135, both teams to score a goal in the first period. Really like those plays lately, and we've had a pretty good track record here on PuckTime with those plays. Guys, we do want to mention all the great deals going on over at WagerTalk, but I think one that is really simple for all 3 of us, you guys can get over at WagerTalk 7 days for $10 a day. I mean, it's just unbelievable looking at the prices of a 5% play being 35, single play 25. You can still take advantage of all these deals. We have 90-day deals going as well. And all these deals are for all sports, not just for hockey, not just for NFL, not just for UFC. There's so much going on. Obviously, it's a great time of the year to be watching and betting on sports. So join us, 7 days, all access pass for $69. You can use that for one of us. You can use it for all 3 of us. But I think it is a great deal for sure. Andy, that last game was kind of interesting because the line was kind of cheap. It's a team that's playing really well, but also against a team that should be a lot better. This one here is 2 teams that I think were expected to have good seasons. Winnipeg and Florida. Although Winnipeg's probably overachieving compared to their preseason rankings. But how do you feel about this game? What sticks out to you? And I got to thank you because you were the one that actually gave me a little tip about Cole Perfetti and his streak, and he did really well. But what do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I tried to look at this Florida Panthers team because there are 2 guys that are consistently going under to have a point, and that's Montour. Now he's only played 3 games, but he's got no points in those 3 games, and Sam Bennett. to not have a point. He's been dealing with injuries, and he only has 1 point this season, and that was against the aforementioned Edmonton Oilers, who give out points like it's Halloween candy. So when I look at the Florida Panthers schedule and their recent win streak, a couple things jump out to me. And the first is that, okay, they beat Columbus, Washington, Carolina, Chicago, and San Jose. All right, good. Then they beat Anaheim and Edmonton. They lost 2-1 and 3-1 to Boston and Los Angeles. Those are the two teams that play good defense and just do not allow a lot of goals. So I don't want to say, they're front running, but when they only score 1 goal against Los Angeles and 1 goal against Boston, that tells me that a step up in defense can do good things against them. And is Winnipeg a great defense? No, they're not a great defense, but they are playing well. They've allowed 2 games in each of the last 2. So I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards the under on this one. I can't say it's a real strong play, but I'm gravitating more towards taking those players, Montour and Bennett, to not have a point. I know Montour is still on the first power play line, but he's just not getting it done. And this Winnipeg team, they can hold teams to, if they hold this Florida team to 2 goals, I don't think Montour and Bennett are going to exactly pad the stat sheet. So I'm looking at the Florida Panthers players to continue their streak of not having points.
Well, they've been a very spread out offense. That's one thing I have been impressed with the Florida Panthers. It's not just a couple of guys doing the bulk of the scoring. And when you get that, you can start betting unders, even on teams doing well. That's the funny thing about NHL props. There's 21 players out there. You can bet unders on teams even when they're performing at a high level. I got to say this, Brian. I got in a debate with somebody the other day. I think it was, actually 2 or 3 weeks ago. I said, I think Winnipeg, as it stands, is the best Canadian team. And that was in the middle of Vancouver's huge streak. And ever since then, Vancouver fell off a little bit, and Winnipeg continues to roll. I love going after the Maple Leafs, so I'm not going to give them any love. But Winnipeg's played some good hockey this year, man. What's your take on this game?
They have, and I think at this point, I may agree with you. I think they may have surpassed Vancouver, at least the way they're playing right now. Both these teams, to me, have been playing some good, solid hockey all season long. And they're teams I'm looking to play on. Unfortunately, they play each other, which makes it a little bit tougher for us. But we're finding Florida off of a loss. Andy talked about them losing 3-1 to the Bruins on Wednesday. Florida's 5-1 on the season off of a loss. Good teams, when they lose, bounce back. We'll see the same thing with Dallas later on today. Good teams off of a loss. Usually that's a really good way to win. But the line keeps you off of it sometimes. And the Panthers are, they're a solid 7-2-0 at home this year. But in the last 10 games, 5-on-5 play, they've been just as good. Goal for percentage of 53.85, expected goal percentage of 53.95, almost exactly the way they should be playing. And as was mentioned, Winnipeg's a little bit outplaying their advanced metrics. They have a 61.90 goals for percentage the last 10 games in 5-on-5 play. That's excellent. But their expected goals is a 49.85, still league average or so, 50%. But that said, I think there's slate value here on the visitors. Winnipeg's 5-2-1 on the road this year. And I agree. I agree with what we were talking about Florida. They're a very good team, but they're not quite there yet. And I think Winnipeg is similar to that. And so we're getting a team out of the Western Conference that I've been pretty impressed with for Winnipeg. It's not going to make my card today, but I'm leaning with the Winnipeg side here. I think there's a little bit of value there with them because I have these two teams basically even. And, with Florida off of a loss playing at home. But Florida hasn't done much on the road. So at home is when you want to play them, at least right now. But Winnipeg's a very good team. This game is a coin flip to me. And anytime there's a coin flip, I'm willing to take the plus money.
I'm with you on that. I think that whenever you see a tight game, you want the dog, you want the underdog, you want that plus money. For me, I'm going to just go with the over 6.5 here. This is a Winnipeg Jets team, I think, that is just different than they were a few years ago, different than they were last year. You think back to what got them into the playoffs, even in some of their losses against the Vegas Golden Knights in that round, Brian, this is a team that was able to contain and play well defensively. Sometimes when a team starts to improve offensively, it impacts their defensive game, right? You have to sacrifice some of your defensive abilities and your conservativeness for playing better on the offensive side of things. I've noticed that quite a bit here with this Winnipeg team over and for their last 5 games. Whether it's been on the road or at home, they've gone over, but especially on the road, they're going over the total quite a bit. And you know what? As much as we say that Florida's scoring has been separated quite a bit, I will say it's been kind of top heavy for the Winnipeg Jets. That can be a problem sometimes, but those guys haven't cooled down at all. So I will look towards over 6.5. I'm confident right now in this Winnipeg team, despite the fact that they have had a kind of an easier schedule. And then you look at that Panthers team, off a loss to the team that pretty much has the best record over the last 100 games, the Boston Bruins, breaking a record last year, off to a phenomenal start this year. Let's not punish this team for losing to the Boston Bruins, okay? This is a very tough team to play in the Bruins, and typically we will see this Florida team bounce back in a big way. So I'll take the over 6.5 in this one. Hope for a big performance. And, I think that overall, when you look at this one, you really want to see guys like Kachuk and kind of the bigger name guys, but honestly, like Evan Rodriguez and some of those are ones that I'm interested in. As far as shots on goal, Andy, have any of these, like, are you betting unders on those or more so props for Florida? Because I've been looking at this team and I'm like, man, I can't predict who's going to be. So I would look towards unders.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't done much with shots on goal props. I haven't played one of them this year, and honestly, I'm happy by not doing that. I've been playing alt line team totals, and I've been playing players to not have a point, and we're 14-6. Don't have a play every night. Just pick our spots and do that. And there's just something about the shots on goal prop that I just found really annoying last year. You can find some guys that get on these streaks. I mean, the Tyler Toffoli run is, will go down in history as one of the best runs ever. But it just, it gets frustrating when you have a guy over 2.5 and he gets 2 and he has like 2 missed shots. And It's like, okay. And then like, one of them hit the post and that doesn't count. It's like, how? How is that not a shot on goal? So like literally hit the goal. That's a shot literally on the goal. So I've avoided the shots on goal. I don't even really look at them. When we talk about the props market, Andrew, sometimes it can be overwhelming because there's so many of them. We talked about Cole Perfetti. You stick to some of these guys like Cole Perfetti to have a point. And I'm going to get to one in the best bet, Alex Killorn to not have a point. And some of these team totals fading the San Jose Sharks and the Edmonton Oilers, that's all you need to do damage in the NHL. So shots on goal, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to continue not looking at them.
You spoiled your best bet. Well, everyone forget what he just said. Remember that in a few minutes. We'll get that in a few minutes from him. But yeah, the shots on goal frustrate me. That's why I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but with Florida, I can't tell who their guy is going to be every night. Brian, you mentioned they're a good bounce back team, but as far as their players are concerned, I don't know who that guy is going to be that starts going crazy and having a big night. So they're a team that, as much as they might play well, under on player props is probably the way to go. Really quick, guys, I just want to let everybody know there are a bunch of early games today. So if you want action, you want some hockey plays, you want to get some of these all-access passes for the day or that great extended Thanksgiving special, 7-day all-access, you can get all the plays that we have going today. And some of those might be early plays. So join us over at WagerTalk, and that Edmonton game is an early game as well. So just wanted to point that out. And for everybody asking for early game picks, well, as far as shelf life is concerned, since we are on, a network, an app, podcasting, we didn't really want to do all of our games on games that'll be over by the time people get off work today and actually watch the show. So sorry we didn't cover too many early games, but there's definitely a method behind the madness. Brian, what's your take on the Calgary Flames and Dallas Stars here in this one? Dallas, man, what a start for them. They've looked good, but I feel like Calgary, they kind of are playing better than their numbers might indicate, at least from what I've seen. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Before we get to it, yeah, you talked about the early start and a lot of early games in college basketball today, just a full game of action. My best bet on today's card is early. It's going to be going off pretty soon here. So if anybody wants to get my best bet, get that. But yeah, the Calgary game here, the obvious play would be on the Stars. As I mentioned earlier, 4-1 off of a loss. They lost to Vegas again the other day in overtime. But most of their success this year has come on the road. Dallas is only 5-4-1 at home this season. Dallas is the team I picked to win it all coming into the year. I still like the way they sit. I'm still pretty confident in that. But you take a look at how they played over the last 10 games in 5-on-5 play. They're actually underperforming their metrics. They got a 46.15 goal for percentage, 52.01 expected goal for percentage. So playing a little bit less than what they're playing better than what they've actually shown on the ice. But they've been outscored 21-18 the last 10 games on 5-on-5 play, despite a 6-3-1 record. So they've been a little bit lucky in that regard. The scoring should be up a little bit higher. But this is a team right now that just don't make the judgment that they've lost that last game, that they're going to bounce back. 4-1's nice, but I don't think they're really playing that great. You mentioned Calgary, very similar to Washington in my regard. Calgary's 5-3-2 the last 10 games, nothing special here. But if you take a look at their goal for percentage, it's a 55.56, expected goal percentage 52.16. So while they're overshooting a little bit the way they've done, they're still playing very good. Anytime you can get an expected goal percentage of over 50 and you're getting them in this underdog price, that's something I want to take a look at. Going back the last 10 games, 5-on-5, they actually outscored the opposition by 5. So everything here from the way these teams have played, whether it be expected goals or actual goals the last 10 on 5-on-5, Calgary's just as good and maybe even better than Dallas is. Now, Dallas, obviously, when you get to the power plays and all that, that's the better teams are going to be the teams that you want to bet on in that case. But just looking at this game, the line's simply too high to not take Calgary. It's one of these games that sometimes I do spike plays, and I've talked about them in the past. And anytime I could get a team that I think is playing just as well as the other and get them in this price range here, that's an automatic bet for me. I love playing underdogs anyway. And, first thing I thought of when Dallas lost to Vegas was, let me take a look at this because, I usually like to play good teams off of a loss. I can't do it here. They haven't played well enough at home for me to back them. Give me Calgary. It's worth a shot for me.
Looking at the Flames, and if you're looking at numbers and you're looking at these two teams, especially 5-on-5, they haven't been that much different, as Brian's talked about. Of course, power play can be an advantage. What sticks out to you in this one, Andy?
I like the over 6 in this one. If it was 6.5, I might pass on it, but I love getting that 6 number. Look at the Flames. 9 out of the last 11 games have landed on 6 or higher. And Dallas, they can put up goals against some of the weaker defenses. And when we look at Calgary, this is a Calgary team that allows 3.37 goals per game. They're in the bottom half. So I look at some of these games that Dallas played. So they play against Arizona. Arizona gives up 3.2 goals per game. Dallas has 4 in that one. Minnesota, part of the terrible trio, they give up 4 goals a game. Dallas scores 8. Columbus gives up 3.6 goals per game. Dallas scores 5. So I think Dallas is going to score some goals, and I love not having to deal with the hook at that over 6. So I think there's goals in this one. If it lands on 6, no problem. But if you get that 4-3 game or anything above it, you cash, and I think that's worth a look here.
Guys, I love when everything aligns. I love when there's a way that all three of us can win, but we're on different plays. I'm on the team total over 2.5 goals for the Flames. So there we go. We got a Flames, we got an over, and we got a Flames over. So anything but Dallas goals by a lot. I mean, let's just get a bunch of Flames goals, and we're all going to be super happy. I think Andy really teed me up perfectly by talking about this Dallas team and their defense. I mean, their defense hasn't been as strong. I talk about Winnipeg's defense kind of falling off, but their offense making up for it. That's been very similar to Dallas, I think. And the power play has a lot to do with it. And I think that the Calgary power play has been creating a lot more chances as well. I don't necessarily like looking towards overs when it's just talking about special teams, but looking at the last few games for this Flames team, expected goal numbers, they're about that 2.5 range, which I like that. That's kind of my cutoff. That's kind of my number here. And looking at kind of the matchups that they've had and the scheduling they've had has been against teams that might not be that skilled, but have actually been playing well defensively. Now, Dallas, they've just been outscoring teams. They have not been really shutting teams down. And I think the Flames have actually played better against teams with a winning record than they actually have against lesser opponents. So 2.5 to the over is minus 120. The total is at 6 here. I understand that some people might say to me, I hear it all the time. Well, if you like them to get 3 goals, why won't you just bet that nice plus price on the underdog? The simple answer is, I don't know if they're going to win the game. I don't trust them to win the game. I think they can get 3 goals against the Dallas Stars. All I have to do is worry about one team, and then my job is done. So Calgary Flames team total over 2.5 goals. My best bet. We got a Flames bet in. We got an over bet in. We got a Flames over team total. We have a ton of games, as we've mentioned several times, and all of our plays are available at WagerTalk. But Carmine hates missing shows, guys. That misses it so much. He's actually watching live right now. We have his 6 and 60 to go over really quick, and he has a bunch of plays for us for today on the slate. So, Carm, what do you have for us?
Okay, Bruins and the Detroit. I'm taking the Bruins in regulation here. Detroit beat them at Little Caesars. I get the Bruins get a measure of revenge here. Bruins 7-0-1 at home. Bruins in 60. Toronto and Chicago. Leafs puck line. Leafs return from Sweden. And Chicago beat them in Toronto 4-1. Measure of revenge here. Leafs by multiple goals. Montreal and San Jose. Sharks money line. Listen, Sharks are pathetic on the road. 3-1 their last 4 at home after allowing 10 plus goals in back-to-back games. Sharks money line. LA Kings, the money train continues with the Kings. They've won 3. They're going to win their last 3 games of this month. Let's take the Kings in Anaheim. Calgary and Dallas. Since that playoff 2 years ago where goals were hard to find, they played pond hockey. 4 games, all overs, 38 goals scored. Let's take the over in this one, over 6. And finally, Vancouver and Seattle. Seattle money line. Seattle beat them in Vancouver on Saturday 4-3. Seattle's got their number and have won 4 straight regular season games against Vancouver. The money line on the Kraken. That's your 6 and 60.
Great stuff, Carm. Happy to see you have good connection, as Andy just put in the live chat there on the plane. I can't believe he snuck a green screen onto the plane as well, giving out some picks. And he likes goals in that Calgary game too. So good to see. And Carm, do us a favor. Get your tan on, man. Get your tan on and enjoy your time in Jamaica. Brian, we have another round of bets to give out. These ones are the best bets. Of course, the show best bets. All of our favorite plays are found at WagerTalk. But what do you have going today and this weekend across all sports? And what's your best bet for the show you can give our viewers? Oh, guys, you're missing out on a big play from Brian right now.
Oh, he just gave out a schlock, surefire winner. Oh.
That was a 5% play.
For my best,
I had to mute because of the cat. But yeah, you just heard my best bet. That'll be the Calgary game there. But yeah, I like a lot of games today. I've got 1 play up in college football, 1 so far in college basketball, 4 plays up in hockey on today's card. And as I mentioned, my best bet is one of the early plays. So full day of action here. Excited for a full day of being able to watch all these sports. This is great around the holiday season. Love it. And I was just saying, you didn't miss anything. I was just making a joke. I says, Carmine is Jamaican me angry that I'm not on the plane with him going to Jamaica.
He is. And I just, hey, Brian, you just cast your over 0.5 dad jokes for the show. So I always appreciate that. And I like to cash an early day winner. So thank you for that, helping me cash that one. So great stuff. Great stuff. And I'm excited for the slate. Andy, what do you have going?
Yeah, I have 1 play up, but I just take advantage of that 7-day special for $69. This week, there's really no reason to just buy 1 bet. You get 7 days. If you've never tried out a handicapper, it's the perfect time because you can see their handicapping style. You can see their write-ups, how they approach wagering. So don't go get just 1 bet. Just try the 7 days for $69 if you haven't. We're 5-3 this week, 14-6 in the NHL this season. I've just really loved the approach to NHL. Not a play every day, not a play every night. Today, we do have a strong play that is up, so looking to push that streak to 15-6. NBA having a good year, NFL having a good week as well. Just use that 7-day pass, guys, for $69. I mentioned him earlier. Yesterday was Thanksgiving here in the States, and the tradition is turkey. I feel like the new tradition is me coming on PuckTime and saying, take Alex Killorn to not have a point. I think I've done it every time I've been on here, and it just keeps hitting. And they're not dropping this price low enough. It's still under -150, which is good enough for me. It's -140 today. He only has a point in 2 out of 9 games, and he gets a brutal matchup today. The Kings, 4th best team at allowing goals per game. Anaheim is the 5th lowest scoring team. They have 7 goals in their last 4 games. So anytime I have these guys on low scoring teams that are having brutal matchups and you get a price that's less than 150, it's absolutely worth putting a unit or two on there and just trying to get one of those 1.5 unit type plays where they just add up over the course of the season. So Alex Killorn, the gift that keeps on giving for me to not have a point, is my best bet for the show.
Great stuff, Andy. Always love having you here on Fridays. And I want to tell you something you tell me on Prop It Up. Don't worry about being creative. We want winners. And Killorn right now is not getting points. So I want you to keep next Friday. If they're playing again, do it again. Give us that as a best bet again here, because if he's not doing well, why not continue to go back at a guy like that? Making money in betting isn't about, a different bet every week. It's about just finding those winners. So, and speaking of winners, hopefully I can give you guys one with the best bet segment, and also tonight with my 5% NHL play. It's been a little while since I've had a 5% NHL. Had a ton of games to look at for today, as I keep talking about, and there was one that stuck out to me big time. So don't forget to grab that at WagerTalk.com. But as Andy stated, why buy a $35 play when you can get the entire week for $70? Just a really great deal. You can take advantage of that and get all my plays for today, tomorrow, so on and so forth. But as far as my show best bet, we're going to go with the over in the Islanders and Senators game. I talk about certain teams that, used to be, or at one point were defensive teams. Overall, I love taking unders with Islanders games, but you get any team into a game with the Senators, they'll make you play into a shootout style of hockey. They'll make you trade goals. And this is an Islanders team that on the road have actually gone over the total for their last 5 games. Ottawa, first game back in North America after being over there in Europe, playing some sloppy games, including that first game against Detroit. I think we see nothing but overs in the future here for this Ottawa team. They have a great offense, but their defense continues to struggle. I'll take over Islanders and Senators today in the NHL. Guys, a great show today. Wager Talk today coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern time. And do not forget to join us with this great special, 7 days, $70. Brian, Andy, Carmine, myself. Don't forget to join us here at WagerTalk.com. Have a great weekend. Best of luck. We'll see you on Monday.